Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents What to Eat When You're Pregnant, a week-by-week guide to support your health and your baby's development, by Nicole M. Avena, Ph.D. Narrated by Chloe Cannon. Publisher's Note: this audiobook includes bonus material. Please visit Tantor.com and type "What to Eat When You're Pregnant" into the search box. Follow the link to the book's page. Then, under the supplemental content section, please enter the access code WELLNESS, and then click the unlock button to access the bonus material. The code should be entered in all lowercase letters. All graphs, charts, recipes, and appendices referenced in this audiobook can be found in the bonus material. Part 1. Why is it important to eat well during pregnancy? Chapter 1. Evolution of the baby bump and being pregnant today. Congratulations! If you are listening to this book, you are most likely at the beginning stages of a beautiful journey through pregnancy, or else thinking about embarking on it soon. Pregnancy can be a joyful life event. It is often celebrated with baby showers, pampering, and even baby moons, when a couple goes on vacation or a weekend getaway before the birth. Pregnancy is also a rite of passage. During and after pregnancy, women experience major physical, social, and psychological transitions, and their roles and responsibilities as individuals change dramatically and forever. While pregnancy can be exciting and nerve-wracking at the same time, it is also one of the most profound periods in a woman's life. You're sure to have many questions and concerns, especially if this is your first baby. How do I ensure that my baby is healthy? What can I eat and what should I avoid while I'm pregnant? Will my body ever look the same after this? Will I be a good mom? If you are anything like I was when I got pregnant with my daughter, you are probably also feeling sheer excitement and happiness intermixed with these worries. Let food be thy medicine. The primary concern of every pregnant woman is the health and well-being of her growing baby, and science suggests that what we eat while pregnant can have dramatic effects on the baby's development and behavior later in life. But trying to eat healthy is hard in the modern food environment, especially when you are pregnant. Also, what does eating healthy even mean anymore? There is so much conflicting information out there about what to eat. It can make your head spin. In addition to doing research in this field, I also have first-hand experience with the trials and tribulations of eating well during pregnancy and beyond. When I first became pregnant with my daughter, I was overwhelmed with excitement. I started to read every book and web article I could find about pregnancy. That's when the fear began to set in. It seemed like everything was potentially toxic or damaging to a growing baby. Between avoiding kitty litter and wondering if the cheese I'd bought was pasteurized, I wanted to hide in my house or surround myself with BPA-free bubble wrap for the next 9 months. Plus, I quickly began to realize that following weight gain guidelines was easier said than done. As a neuroscientist with a focus on appetite and nutrition, I spend most of my days thinking about and testing how what we eat affects our brains. I know that the foods we eat can dramatically affect our behavior and health, and this is even more critical when it comes to the nourishment that a pregnant woman passes along to her developing baby. However, as a pregnant woman, I found the information out there for me and other moms to be confusing, limited, and overwhelmingly focused on the negatives. Avoid this, avoid that. I found myself wondering, after we avoid all of those foods, what should we eat? I am also a skeptical person by nature, probably fueled by my training to become a scientist, and I wanted to know not just what to eat, but also why, and I wanted some proof to back it up. I wasn't sold on the old wives' tales. I wanted to write this book to help mothers-to-be better understand what they should eat when expecting and why. In addition to avoiding the bad things, we can capitalize on the good things that foods can do to promote health at critical points during development. Also, I know that eating well can be a challenge, especially when so much of today's commercial food offerings are junk. This challenge can become even greater when compounded by the social norms surrounding pregnancy and the hormones and mood changes that occur over those 9+ months. The goal of this book is to sift through the rumors and media stories to give you a real account of the science behind why your weight and what you eat during pregnancy are important for you and your baby, as well as to provide you with a practical plan of what to eat for the best outcome. Not only will eating the foods described in the following chapters help you keep your weight in check during and after pregnancy, but also by eating foods that are rich in key nutrients at critical points throughout your pregnancy, you will help your baby grow up strong and healthy. The evolution of pregnancy myths and reality. Over the centuries, people have viewed pregnancy in ways that may seem not only foreign but also a bit crazy. For example, in the 1st and 2nd century, it was believed that your thoughts during pregnancy could affect your offspring, all because one Greek physician noted that pregnant women who thought about monkeys delivered hairy children. Similarly, in the 18th century, it was thought that the incidence of birth defects, such as babies being born deaf or blind, resulted directly from mothers' experiences while expecting, such as having been shocked by a loud sound or having looked at a blind person. Pregnancy was not always managed by doctors. In fact, for most of human history, information was passed down from mother to daughter or conveyed by, often untrained, midwives. Expectant women were traditionally told all sorts of old wives' tales, myths, and ancient wisdom, which, in hindsight, wasn't always so wise, about the secrets to a healthy pregnancy and newborn. Over the last 100 years, however, pregnancy has become highly medicalized. It has also become an area of intense scientific research, with more findings now than ever before. The research exploring how maternal behavior during pregnancy may impact a child's health and development has helped us move beyond folk tales and get to the facts about what expectant mothers should or shouldn't do during pregnancy to promote optimal health for both their babies and themselves. It starts with food. One of the first inklings of the importance of prenatal nutrition came from the consequences of a natural phenomenon known as the Dutch winter famine. During the winter and spring of 1944, the German army rationed the food supply in parts of the Netherlands. It was later found that women who were pregnant during this time were more likely to have had children with various health problems, including being either too small or obese, and having greater rates of cardiovascular disease. These findings sparked a slew of research on the impact of maternal undernutrition, such as protein deficiency, on the growth and development of offspring. Today, we are fortunate that undernutrition isn't a problem for most pregnant women in the United States. However, we now have the opposite problem. Approximately 60% of women of childbearing age, 20 to 39 years old, are overweight or obese. Thus, the emphasis of research in the field of nutrition and pregnancy has begun to shift from studying the effects of undernutrition to those of overfeeding. For example, recent research, some of which has come from my laboratory, has revealed that consumption of too much of certain ingredients, like sugars and fats, during pregnancy and nursing may have lasting effects on the baby's body weight, food intake patterns, and other behaviors. More on this in later chapters. Weight gain is certainly one food-related issue in pregnancy, but there are others. For example, there are often food scares reported in the media, alerting expectant mothers about potential links between a particular food and their baby's well-being. Almost every week there seems to be breaking news about some food additive or ingredient linked to autism, birth defects, and other conditions. Women wonder, is this real or just media hype? Will I get listeriosis from that turkey sandwich I had at the deli before I knew I was pregnant? Was there BPA in that can of soup I had yesterday? Will my child be born with an addiction to caffeine because I had a half-calf latte today? What is DHA? And do I need to take a pill to make sure the baby gets enough of it? These are just a handful of the anxiety-provoking questions that pregnant women have about food. and a major motivation behind the writing of this book. With mounting evidence regarding the value of good prenatal nutrition, it is important that women who are expecting have the opportunity to learn about the new scientific findings in this area in a realistic, accessible, and hype-free way. Also, pregnancy can and should be a fun time in life. So instead of being afraid or worrying about the potential bad things that might happen, we can use this information in a positive way. As science tells us more and more about fetal development, we can apply what has been learned to support our growing baby's needs at each step of development. You might have read or plan to read other books that describe what development is happening during each week of pregnancy, from those little limbs growing to those fingers and toes taking shape. We know that food is the best medicine, and that many of the essential nutrients needed at the various stages of development can be obtained by eating a healthy diet. So, in addition to discussing these remarkable milestones, I will describe the vitamins, minerals, and nutrients that can help support these changes. More on that in Part 2. Being pregnant today. Expectant mothers get conflicting messages about eating and weight gain during pregnancy. On the one hand, they are told to forget all the rules and indulge in bonbons while lying on the couch for 9 months. On the other hand, they are told to scrutinize their food before consuming it to ensure it won't have any harmful effects on the baby, to avoid gaining too much weight, with no advice on exactly how to do that, and then to lose all the baby weight immediately after giving birth. If the celebrities can do it, why can't we? Between social pressures, hormonal changes, and messages from the media, pregnancy can be hard on a woman's body and body image. Let's try to sort this out. Eating for two. Pregnancy is often viewed as a time when women can give in to their food cravings and not worry about their weight. Eat for two, and it's for the baby, are phrases that mothers-to-be often hear during pregnancy. This type of encouragement can lead women to think that they can pamper themselves by eating anything they want because their body, their baby, or others are telling them to. The belief that it is fine to eat all you want during pregnancy has, unsurprisingly, led to women's eating more. The majority of women in the United States consume more calories per day during their pregnancy than necessary, which may contribute to additional weight gain. Indeed, a recent study at Penn State College of Medicine assessed the differences between overweight and obese women who gained the recommended amount of weight during pregnancy and those who gained too much. The researchers found that women who made less healthy food choices, exercised less, ate more in response to cravings, and described their pregnancy as eating for two ended up gaining excessive weight compared to those who were conscious about their eating and exercise habits and did not consume more calories than they needed. We also tend to pamper expectant mothers during pregnancy because they are in a special state when extra care, attention, and spoiling are perceived as beneficial for both the mother and her baby. Throughout pregnancy, many lucky moms-to-be are offered prenatal massages, plenty of rest, and other enjoyable activities. Many also receive extra help around the house from their partners, friends, and relatives, especially during the second half of their pregnancy when certain chores may become especially challenging. All of this is great, and as a society we should take care of the people who are producing the next generation of humans. However, when expectant mothers are encouraged to eat more and move less, this self- or society-generated pampering comes at a cost to both mother and baby. Food for thought. The Institute of Medicine recommends that pregnant women eat no extra calories during the first trimester, add 340 extra calories a day in the second trimester, and increase that 340 to about 450 calories a day in the third trimester for a healthy, single baby pregnancy. Even though no extra calories are needed during the first trimester, you may still gain a pound or two during this time, even without consuming more food than usual, because your body is starting to store a little bit of what you eat for the future, when your baby is larger and needs more nutrients. Conversely, you may not gain any weight during the first 3 months. Pickles and ice cream. Along with the joys of pregnancy can come morning sickness and food cravings. Morning sickness, the common term used to describe the nausea and food aversions that many expectant women experience, can occur throughout a pregnancy, but it is most common in the first trimester. This nausea can alternate with seemingly random and uncontrollable cravings, and there may be some legitimacy behind the stereotype of an expectant mother eating pickles with ice cream at 3 a.m., after having sent her husband out to the store on an urgent mission to buy it. These cravings can be driven by physiological factors. Cravings are a way of compensating for possible dietary inadequacies and aversions, whereas nausea and vomiting are bodily reactions to abrupt changes in hormone levels. Cravings can also be the result of learning which foods produce feelings of well-being. According to this theory, people have cravings for particular foods because they have learned that when they consume those foods, they feel good. A number of studies also propose that women's diets during pregnancy are strongly influenced by their tastes and eating habits before pregnancy. Thus, eating habits, aversions, and cravings that are present before getting pregnant may continue into the pregnancy, possibly in a more pronounced and unrestrained fashion. Thanks, hormones. Regardless of the causes, both nausea and cravings are a part of pregnancy for many women, and they can have a dramatic effect on appetite. They can limit food choices, particularly if you develop an aversion to entire classes of foods like meats, which may limit your ability to get essential nutrients that you need for your developing baby. Further, cravings can cause you to go overboard on foods that may not be very healthy for you or the baby. That is, junk food. And this can also lead to more weight gain than intended. The skinny on weight gain. If the 9+ months of pregnancy are viewed as a time when social pressures to be slim are somewhat relaxed, then concern about weight gain may be reduced despite an increase in body size. This mentality, combined with socially accepted and expected cravings, may contribute toward gaining more weight than is needed or healthy. U.S. statistics from 2007 show that of those women with an underweight body mass index, BMI, approximately 27% gain more weight during their pregnancy than recommended. For women of a normal weight, the figure is 46%. For women who were overweight, 59%, and for women who were obese, 46%. Why might this matter? Studies have found that a higher than recommended weight gain is associated with increased weight retention post-pregnancy as well as increased risk for a number of medical conditions that can affect both the mother and the child. These subjects will be covered in greater depth in the upcoming chapters. To add another layer to this discussion, we live in an increasingly weight-conscious society, which can bring about great confusion and stress for mothers-to-be. Just glancing at the celebrity magazines and tabloids while waiting in line at the supermarket checkout can reveal harsh societal expectations about weight gain during pregnancy. Jessica Simpson and Kim Kardashian, for example, were followed by the press everywhere they went and criticized viciously for gaining too much weight while expecting. And then there are the celebrities who seem to lose any and all baby weight immediately after delivery. Brazilian supermodel Gisele Bündchen, for instance, made a big splash in the media when she was photographed on the beach in a bikini, just weeks after giving birth, looking very much like she does in the Sports Illustrated swimwear issue. How to use this book. As you can see, there are a lot of factors contributing to the confusion about how and what to eat during pregnancy. But ultimately, what is most important is how you can support your baby's development and your own good health during and after pregnancy. I have broken down the information you need to know into 3 easy parts. Part 1 covers the basics of why it is important to eat well during pregnancy. Chapter 2 reviews the science behind why eating too much, and thereby gaining excess weight during pregnancy, can be a risk factor for complications later on for you and for your growing baby. Although this book is not exclusively about weight control, it is an issue that affects the majority of women out there, so it warrants being covered in depth. Next, Chapter 3 explains which nutrients are most important throughout each of the 3 trimesters of pregnancy. That way, you can become familiar with these terms, as some of them are on the technical side. So it's okay if you have never heard of choline. I'll explain it and, more important, I'll tell you why you need it and which foods you can get it from naturally. The fun begins in Part 2. Chapters 4, 5, and 6 not only provide you with a week-by-week guide to what is happening with your growing baby, but also focus on your needs nutritionally to support the best outcomes for your little one. Each chapter covers a trimester, and each week features a food of the week that is high in certain nutrients that are important to consume at that time. There are also recipes and meal prep or snack ideas to go along with each week. Following this week-by-week plan is a great way to not only optimize your nutrition, but also test a variety of foods and get creative by trying some fun, yet simple, recipes. Part 3 ties everything together and helps you understand how you can do this. Let's face it, eating healthy can be a challenge, even when you aren't dealing with raging hormones. Chapters 7 and 8 offers strategies and tips on how you can cope with those pesky hormones, crazy cravings, and other pregnancy-related issues that can make it challenging to eat well. Chapter 9 provides some suggestions for things you can do to get your weight back in check after the baby arrives, and to maintain a healthy eating pattern from here on out, even after the baby is born. Since some of the tips are helpful early on in pregnancy, you may want to jump to Part 3 while you are working your way week by week through Part 2. In the bonus material, you'll find Appendix A, which covers some foods you should avoid as well as the science-based reasons why you should avoid them. It also contains useful information that may help answer questions like whether it is okay to have any alcohol while pregnant, remember that glass you had before you knew, or why people say you aren't supposed to eat blue cheese. Appendix B reviews what you need to know about eating well while nursing, including foods you may still want to avoid and whether or not you can have a glass or two of wine. Appendix C covers special considerations, like if you are having twins or triplets, and information about certain health complications that can accompany pregnancy. This chapter has covered some of the unique challenges women face today when they become pregnant, and how these challenges can make it difficult to have optimal nutrition during this important developmental period. In Chapter 2, we will hear in more detail why maintaining a healthy weight during pregnancy is important for not only your own health, but also the health of your growing baby. Chapter 2. Why your baby weight matters. Okay, I'm going to come right out and say it. This is the scary chapter. If you happen to be underweight, overweight, or obese, and you are now or are about to become pregnant, some of the information in this chapter may alarm you. I'm not trying to frighten you into gaining or losing weight. Rather, I want to share some important research about the relationship between body weight and pregnancy, while underscoring why it is so important to consider what to eat when you are pregnant. While it's true that expectant mothers may have an elevated risk for certain conditions when they are underweight, overweight, or obese, I'm not implying that these conditions will definitely occur. But if you happen to fall into one of these weight categories, you are at a higher risk. Fortunately, by changing the way you eat now, with help from the chapters in Part 2 and the practical tips in Part 3, you may be able to lower this risk. If you are normal weight and don't anticipate that you'll have trouble gaining an amount within the recommended range, you can skip this chapter and get right to the week-by-week recommendations. However, there's been a lot of recent research on the relationship between pre-pregnancy weight and weight gain during pregnancy that I personally find fascinating. So if you're kind of a science and statistics geek like me, keep listening. Why do you have to worry about your weight? We all know the grim statistics. The rates of overweight and obesity have been increasing in the United States for the past 3 decades, and it is estimated that by 2030, half the population will be obese. And women of reproductive age are no exception. More than half of all pregnant women in the United States are overweight or obese, and 1 out of every 5 women is obese at the start of pregnancy. The situation in other developed countries is equally daunting, with rates similar to those in the United States. Why the big fuss about weight? Well, we know that being overweight or obese can lead to a plethora of health issues, including increased risk of heart disease, cancer, metabolic syndrome, and depression. However, your pre-pregnancy weight and the amount of weight you gain during pregnancy can have profound effects on your own and your baby's health. Although both issues are important, a woman's pre-pregnancy weight is sometimes overlooked. However, an increasing number of studies show correlations between a mother's higher weight at conception and negative health effects for her and her baby. The chart entitled "The Risks of Being Overweight or Obese Before Pregnancy" outlines some of the conditions that women who are overweight or obese before they get pregnant have a higher risk of developing. There are many reasons why we become overweight or obese. Working women in the Western world have a pretty full plate. No pun intended. Long work hours, financial stress, and unrealistic pressure to keep a perfect home and a happy partner can all lead to less time and energy for focusing on our own health and fitness. Hectic schedules can result in an irregular workout regimen, or even a complete lack of exercise, and less than optimal nutrition. We cook fewer meals at home because many options for fast and ready-to-eat food are available. And not only do we consume fast food at high rates, but we also eat it quickly. Having less time in general leads to rushed eating, which can contribute to weight gain when the body's fullness response doesn't kick in soon enough to curtail eating. Constant stress can lead to stress eating and overeating, which can also add on extra pounds. These are only some of the factors that contribute to overeating and excess weight gain. With all of this in mind, it is not surprising that, unfortunately, a considerable number of women of childbearing age are entering pregnancy with excess weight. A dangerous knowledge gap. A recent study showed that 64% of obese women and 40% of overweight women overestimated how much weight they should gain during pregnancy. And while many women reported knowing that increased weight can mean an increased risk for pregnancy complications, many were unaware of the specific complications. How overeating affects the baby. Eating too many calories per day or having a diet that's too high in sugar or fat will most likely affect your body both during and after pregnancy. These eating habits will cause you to gain more weight than is needed during pregnancy and make it harder to lose the weight afterward, as well as increase your risk of pregnancy complications. However, maternal overeating may take its largest toll on the baby, who has to cope with a less than optimal environment in the womb. Numerous animal studies have shown that maternal diet can have a long-lasting impact on the offspring's risk of developing mental health disorders, impaired social behaviors, lower cognitive abilities, increased response to stress, and altered reward-related behaviors. For example, a study from my laboratory showed that rat mothers who eat a high-fat diet during pregnancy are likely to have offspring that crave highly palatable food. That is, processed foods engineered to target the brain's most basic pleasure response, which can, in turn, create an intergenerational cycle of eating these types of foods and perhaps perpetuate obesity from one generation to the next. Research in humans suggests that exposure to excess calories or to gestational diabetes that may have developed as a result of excess food intake can make a baby grow too large, placing it at risk of having a high birth weight, also known as macrosomia or large for gestational age. Maternal overeating can also influence a child over the long term by increasing the risk of chronic diseases, such as obesity and cardiovascular disease, as well as metabolic and psychological disorders in childhood, adolescence, and adulthood. Some studies have even drawn links between prenatal diet and children's intelligence. How conditions in the womb affect your baby. The conditions babies experience in the womb can also have long-lasting effects on their health. The environment that you are exposed to as an expectant mother sends signals to your baby, essentially telling it a story about what life will be like once it is out of the womb. It is hypothesized that this storytelling prepares babies to do well in the world that's being described. This preparation occurs via intricate mechanisms that switch certain of the baby's genes on or off, depending on the story the baby is being told. If, however, there is a mismatch between the story and the real life the baby encounters outside of the womb, there may be a problem, and quite possibly a big one. For example, if the mother does not eat an adequate diet and/or gain enough weight, the baby may prepare for a life of scarce resources.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?